Hi there, Chris here with another fresh tip for you all. In this video, we are going to continue our look at painting Aeldari Rangers. In this video, we are going to work on the cloak and doing a urban camo, meaning they're fighting in city ruins and kind of stuff. So it's going to be a lot of grays and such as the color palette for the cloak. The rest of the model has been painted to match, obviously, the rest of the unit. I'm going to get things started with Celestra Gray. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have went with a slightly darker gray, something probably closer to Dawnstone or, something around there, a little bit darker. This actually might have been a little bit too light. And this is a really fun way to get things started using, like a white paint and such. But I figured a nice light gray would actually, because just the way I go about this, I kind of figured that I would knock it down a bit and everything like that. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. After applying a nice smooth base coat to the entirety of the cloak, 2 layers of course, we're going to bust out the Eshin Gray. We're going to use just a little bit of Abaddon Black. Ratio is probably closer to like a 2 to 1, 2 gray to 1 black. Take a large helping on my palette and a small helping of black. We're going to add into it, and we're going to add a little bit of medium. I think about 2 drops, I believe. 1, 2. And then give that a good thorough mixing. Now with this, we are basically going to start drawing in the lines, the chevrons, the diamonds. And of course, we're going to do this in a similar fashion as we did in the previous one with the jungle camo. So basically, I just pick a point, I pick a corner, and begin drawing in lines. And with this, I'm just basically imagining, obviously, just drawing a diamond shape. And of course, when you are doing this sort of work, you do want to make sure your paint is flowing very, very well. It's in a thin consistency, like ink, as it is often described. But also, it's not too much water. If you're using water to thin your color down, which is fine, by all means do it. But you got to be careful of using too much water, as it breaks the surface tension and makes this kind of work a little bit problematic. There, I was just demonstrating that after I'd cleaned up the lines a little bit more and such. And then here I'm just basically going through and just, creating the impression of more diamonds. Realistically, it is basically, I'm just kind of drawing angled lines, because we've established that on bigger areas that there are diamond shapes, that basically any kind of angular straight lines with a corner and coming to an angle like that will give us the impression that we're looking at diamonds all around the cloak surface of the model, which is pretty straightforward. You can see there I didn't go for an even diamond on the back. I actually made the diamond on the left hand side a little bit smaller. Dawnstone with Lamian medium. We're just going to slap a little bit down on the palette and just add a drop or 2 into the mixture. And we are going to begin drawing in our second set of color. And with these second diamonds, I often will draw them into the previous darker diamond shapes so that they're kind of overlapping and building on top of each other. It's just really for aesthetic. I'm just kind of, going about this as I see the best way to go about it, as opposed to the way that Games Workshop officially does these diamonds. It differs because, I haven't seen how they do it process. So I'm just kind of, making it up as I go. Of course, it's going to differ from the official way it is done. Again, though, it's really just, create straight lines, have them overlap, have these diamond shapes, intermingling with each other of various sizes, and you're going to create a look that looks pretty similar to what we see in the codex covers and the box art and, these kinds of things. With this one, though, I don't know if this one has actually been tackled as of the time of creating this video, so I'm sure maybe there will be a tutorial on how to do various camo patterns, and I imagine different craft worlds, the colors will look better. For example, the Altiok will want more warmer colors that go against that blue armor, vice versa. So once we have our pattern pretty much laid out, I'm going to take Basilicum Gray. This is the Citadel contrast. I'm going to use contrast medium to thin it out, just a little bit onto my palette, and then 2 drops, which is basically means it's 1 part contrast, 2 parts medium. Really, really thin it out, and there's also a bit of water in my brush as well. And then with this, I'm going to work this into the recesses. Anywhere where I lay it a little too heavily, you can see how really it doesn't, saturate the surface too heavily. But anywhere where I get that it's a little bit too much, especially on the high points, I simply take my brush and wipe away the excess. And essentially that is feathering. So if anybody who really kind of wants to play with a feathering technique, this is pretty much it. You just lay the color down, use a clean brush, damp brush, and draw the excess off. And that'll achieve a feathered look for you. It's a fast way to blend things for anybody who really wants to pick up a little bit more efficiency in their painting. Again, you can see we're just slapping this down, and I'm allowing it to pool up in recesses because I'm fine with that, as deepening up the overall grayness of the cloak is fine because, again, I use a fairly light gray as the base. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I probably should have went with more of a darker mid-tone gray. We're going to come back to the silicone gray. Once the first layer is dry, we're going to add just a drop of medium just to help flow a little bit. So it's more like a 1-to-1 or more like 2 paint to 1 medium. Switching over to a detail brush, and we're going to slowly build in more deeper color in towards recesses and folds and things of that nature. And again, if you lay a little too much color down, you can always feather it off with a clean damp brush. Nothing, nothing problematic about that. You can see here I'm doing that right here. Just quickly feather that off. Creates a nice little blend. And again, it's just, working your way around. Now, again, some of it, like I mentioned, it gets a little bit lost. Some of the light mid-tone gray, the Celestial Gray and the Dawnstone are actually not really that far off. Actually, Celestial Gray has a bit more of a cool quality to it as opposed to the Dawnstone, which actually has more of a neutral value to it. It doesn't really kind of, go cold or warm in regards to, overall feeling of it. Dawnstone and Administratum Gray. Now, I don't want to go too bright here, but I do want to add a little bit of a highlight to the Dawnstone chevrons that we've laid out. So I'm doing a roughly 1-to-1 mix with some mediums, thinned it out, and gave it a nice thorough mixing. And then we're just very lightly going to glaze in some of the little highlights in towards the brightest points of each of these little chevrons around. So there's really not a lot here on this back portion, but also on the sleeves as well, and some of the collar and things of that nature. And in fact, I start to use this as a bit of an edge highlight on some details. So again, if you're looking to just kind of help, bring details forward again, because it does shift towards a really dark value up to a fairly bright value on the cloak. And that's not really what I was looking for. But again, I mean, you all can learn from my errors and, my missteps. Here I'm taking the previous mixture and adding it to Ulthrin Gray. And this is just going to be for an edge highlight around the cloak. And again, this is pretty straightforward. It is the entirety of the cloak. I'm not, trying to avoid like anywhere where the chevrons meet up the edge or anything like that. I'm just catching the high points of folds, even if it runs into some of the chevron details on the cloth. I'm not too worried about that. I'm more concerned with picking out the highlights. This could also have been done before we even did the chevrons. So whichever way you go about it, I mean, it's entirely up to you. But that is it. That is Urban Camo Eldar Camouflage. What do you guys think? Win? No? Maybe? I don't know. Big thank you to my patrons. Without their support, these videos are not possible. If you're considering Patreon support, click the link in the description below and you'll be taken off to a magical website called Patreon, where there are various tiers of support, and a huge thank you to everybody who does. Take care of those brushes, and they will take care of you.